Welcome, everyone. We are live, and it is Monday, a glorious Monday. It really is. I can hear the little birdies. They're singing outside, and they're so cute. They're little chirp, chirp, chirp. They're cute. Make it make sense. You see, one of the examples I will give you that I've given you before is because people still don't understand that we create our realities. People will say that's not true. They'll argue with you. And I'm to the point where I argue with no one because you cannot argue the principles. They just are there. And so what happens is this example, we all do it. We all have mental conversations. You are walking down the street, you're talking to yourself in your mind, whatever that conversation is. You bring something to memory, like it comes to the forefront. You remember something and you relive it again. That inner conversation is not just a quote unquote random thing. That inner conversation is an impression that is in your brain. It's there. For instance, we have people in our lives that we like, we don't like, we love, whatever. When you think about them, you have a mental conversation with them. You reminisce. You say, oh, I remember when such and such. I remember when we were really good friends, or I remember when, pardon me, I remember when I was in this relationship, blah, 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 blah. And you're going through the memories. Now, the memory didn't just come from nowhere. The memory came because something triggered it. For instance, if you, we have these little ice cream trucks here called Mr. Dickie D Man, the Dickie D ice cream truck. And they play a little tune. And depending where you are, when you hear that tune, you'll come up with a memory that reminds you of that. Good, bad, or indifferent, the memory comes up. And then you decide whether you're going to have ice cream or not from the Dickie D Man. Because you're like, oh, that is so, the word is nostalgic. Oh my God. Mr. Dickie D Man. Listen, it takes me all the way back to my childhood in Barbados when you'd hear the ice cream truck. Dun, 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 dun. That's the tune he played. Dun, 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 dun. And every time I heard that, my head would pop right up from whatever I was doing. And I would make eye contact with my grandfather. Because that meant he was going to give me money to get ice cream. And he would always joke and say, when I ran, the back of my feet would hit the back of my feet, the soles of my feet would hit the back of my head. That's how fast I was running. And he would always tell me that story, that was my thing. And so he would always have, and it was on Sundays, and he would always have money just so he could get that ice cream, right? So every time I hear the Mr. Dickie D Man, I remember my grandfather and me getting ice cream, and he would always laugh. See the memory? Good, bad, or indifferent. And you have a conversation, and you laugh or you cry or whatever that memory brings to the surface. It is bringing it to the surface because it is in your brain. It is an image stored in your brain as a memory. Now, if you're walking down the street and you hear whoop, 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 right? You hear the police. That's going to have its own memories. It brings something up to the surface because what it is bringing up is something, an impression that has been left upon you. Whether that was a good interaction, bad interaction, indifferent interaction, doesn't matter. Whatever that was, it brings it to the forefront of your mind. And in that forefront, pardon me, in that forefront, you begin to have a conversation. And as you have that conversation, you go through the gamut of emotions that are associated with it. And as you go through those emotions, you relive it. And you start to have this conversation again. Right? And as you are having that conversation, depending on how many times you have that conversation in a day, that conversation that you're having is showing you where your mood is. And when you can see where your mood is, that determines your type of experience. Because remember, mood and experience are going to match. I read where this person was saying, well, I wasn't asking for that specific thing. We don't ask for specific things per se. It is the type of conversation you're having in your mind's eye, the type of conversation that you're having matches a particular external event. So if you're having an argument in your mind's eye, you're going to have an argument on the outside. Now, the type of argument or the intensity of the argument depends upon the intensity of the conversation you're having in your mind's eye. If you are totally frustrated, totally agitated, or you're really happy, or whatever that is that you're feeling on the inside with that mental conversation that you're having, will determine the level of intensity by which you will experience it. Remember that rhythm always compensates. So if you're having a good belly laugh at a particular memory in your mind's eye, and you do that habitually, meaning that's the mental conversation you have more often than not. You have that conversation 20 times a day in your mind's eye, then that's your habitual mood of the guffaw, the laughter, the total knee slap. It's just totally hilarious to you. And you habitually hang out there in that mood. Well, then you don't have to guess what your encounters will be like. You know what they're like based upon the mental conversation you're having. So if you're jovial, meaning you're happy, go lucky, whatever, and that's where you always go to, well, then those are the types of conversations you will have in the external world with people. Those are the types of interactions. So you don't have to choose a specific one. You choose the one that feels the best to you. And what that feeling implies is the type of external experience you will have. So for instance now, if somebody's really like totally just, makes you wanna, rah. But if that's where you are every day, you get it? If that's where you are every day in your mind's eye, having an argument because something reminded you of whoever, and the argument comes to the surface, you might not necessarily argue with that specific person. You might not have that specific argument. But the level of intensity by which you are arguing in your mind's eye will definitely determine the type of argument you have on the outside and how intense it will be. You know, when you say, ugh, why do these kinds of people find me all the time? Because that is your predominant mood. That's why. It totally is. It's interesting because this may be a little bit gross, but I was saying, if I've got Lil Bit out in the yard and he poops, now I walk with my little wet wipes, and even though it's in the grass, I clean it up anyway. Because you know why? Even if I turn my back and I didn't know that he pooped, I'll know because of the flies. They will, listen, you blink and they're there. You're like, what the? How did you get here? How do you even know? And they show up. I didn't call the flies like per se, oh, flies. No, I didn't have to call them. They are the effect. So they show up because he pooped in the grass. So I clean it up and I go and I toss it out in the garbage bin in the backyard. And the flies go away. As if by magic, they go away. That's the point. The inner mood sends out a beacon, if you will. Burr, 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 burr. It sends out this beacon. And the effect shows up. That beacon is your inner conversation that you are having. If your inner conversation is, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't talk to me, don't talk to me, I'm not really here, oh my God, don't talk to me, don't talk to me. What's the first thing that happens? Somebody says, hey, and they start talking to you. You are trying to shrink or hide in your mind's eye. That's what you're trying to do, thereby calling attention to yourself. Do you see that? It appears as if it's the opposite, where you're saying, don't talk to me, don't talk to me, I'm not really here. Like SpongeBob, I'm not really here. I'm just a figment of your imagination, is what he does. But the very fact that you have your attention upon trying to blend in and hide, that's what draws people to you. Not the opposite. You can't ever get the opposite, right? So you see, the inner conversation is the most critical thing. We do it and we know we're doing it, but we don't know that we're doing it. Think about that. We're doing it because we are aware that we're doing it. To an extent, we are aware that we're doing it. We know when we're having a mental conversation. Because every time I tell you a story, sometimes you'll go back in your own mind to find one that matches and say, oh my God, yeah, that happened to me too. Or you say, oh, but that's never happened to me. Because you have to go through the memories to see, oh, well, that one didn't happen to me. So you're having the mental conversation. So to make it make sense, the conversation that you're having is what, oh, oh, incoming, one moment. Good morning, handsome. Good morning. And if you grew up with that, takes you right back. See what I mean? And whatever memory that is attached to for you is what you will bring to the surface. So you see, as we go through our day, certain things, quote unquote, trigger us. And when we hear trigger, sometimes we want to say, oh, that's a bad thing. No. Just pay attention to the fact that something happened that caused you to recall something. Now, the level of intensity with which you recall that incident, it'll do something to you. Okay? And what it does to us is based upon good, bad, or indifferent. It's just based upon what you experienced. A lot of people tell me when they hear the rooster, it takes them back to their childhood and growing up on the farm. If I call my mother now, there's a rooster crowing. If I call her, there's a rooster crowing where she is. She doesn't have chickens, but there's not a moment that goes by that she doesn't hear a rooster. So these memories that come back, they are attached to inner conversations. And the key is to catch yourself as you have an inner conversation. If your inner conversation falls along the lines of arguing, always having to prove yourself in this argument, right? These people never listen to me. I feel like I'm hollering in the wind and it just comes back to me. Nobody ever listens to me. If that is your inner conversation, you will find that if that is the inner conversation you have most of the day, you will find that your interactions are with people who don't really listen to you. Think about this for a moment. It doesn't mean you're looking for an argument. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean you're looking for an argument. But because your predominant mental attitude or inner conversation is arguing, they come to you just like when the chicken poops in the yard. And this is why I walk with those wet wipes, because I don't like flies. As soon as he poops, flies are there. And I'm like, it's not even like 5 seconds. They just show up. So if your predominant mental attitude is remembering an argument and having the argument, you are rehearsing what you're going to tell this person when you see them. You're going to cuss them out. You'll tell them about their mama. And you're in your mind. Listen, nobody knows that you're having that conversation in your head because they can't see it. But you know how you know? Because the flies show up. Somebody comes along and they just quote unquote rub you the wrong way. Because you are having a mental argument. So the test for ourselves is this. I say test because you don't want to judge it. Because when we judge, we make ourselves feel guilty. We feel ashamed. We feel angry. Thereby doing what? Bringing about a mental conversation now. One of inadequacy. One of feeling insignificant. And if that is the predominant mental conversation that you have throughout the day, whenever you encounter someone, they're going to treat you as if You're insignificant. Not because you are insignificant, but because of the conversation you are having in your mind's eye over and over and over again. So the test is this: catch yourself as you are having a mental conversation. Catch yourself when you're talking to yourself. What is that conversation that you're having? And how many times are you having it? For myself, when I was testing myself with these things, oh, cheapers. I had a plain piece of paper and a little pencil. Every time I had an argument in my head, I'd put a line on the paper. And I put a line on the paper again. And when I got to 6, or however many I would go to, I'd put that line through all of them to say that this is 10. I've had this conversation with myself now 10 times. I didn't keep track as to, was it an hour? Nope, didn't do that. I just paid attention to how many times I had an argument in my head. And then I watched my corresponding experiences on the outside. Did I argue with someone in the flesh? And every time I saw it, I said, oh my God, that's what I'm doing. Oh no. I said, okay. What mental conversation do I want to have instead? And I would just tell myself, well, maybe I want to see carnations or something. Oh, I like carnations. I really do. Those pink carnations are glorious. And they have a very spicy smell to them. And I love them. And I would just smile to myself about those carnations. Just something trivial. Nothing too deep. And wouldn't you know, I would either see carnations or hear somebody talking about carnations, go somewhere and carnations are on sale. But that's all I did. And I said, oh, it was that easy? I said, well, you know what? Maybe that's a one-off. Maybe that's a fluke. Let me do it again. And I would change it from carnations to something else. And notice how it's nothing random or willy-nilly per se. It's something that you do. I like carnations. Well, I like chocolate too. Because it makes me feel good. I love chocolate. It's tasty. And I would go through what my favorite one is. You know? That's what I would hear in my mind's eye. Any kind of commercial for chocolate I'd hear in my head. And wouldn't you know, I'd go somewhere and I was like, oh, I should get this chocolate. The very one I was singing about, oh, I should get that. And I start to have a taste for it. I say, oh, I should get that. Right? See what's happening? This is how you test yourself. Because people don't understand that those things that we have in our minds, those conversations we have in our minds, they don't understand that it's a rehearsal. They don't understand that that's what they're doing. And the whole reasoning behind rehearsing is so you can act it out. That's the purpose of rehearsing. It's the purpose of studying so that you can write a test to remember so you can do it. So to make it make sense, test yourselves on a daily basis. And you not only will begin to see how many times you have a conversation, but you will also see how many times you have that particular type of conversation. You'll begin to see the type of conversation and how frequently you have the conversation and how it makes you feel when you have the conversation in your mind's eye. You'll begin to notice that. And when you begin to notice it, you will also notice the corresponding external experience. You'll notice it. And you will say to yourself, oh my goodness, that seems so weird, but I was just having that conversation. What a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's not confirmation bias either. It is you recognizing your mental attitude that you predominantly walk in and how it matches what you experience on the outside. Now, it goes that way with like cars, because there's just things you're thinking of your favorite car, and you see it. Now, go a little deeper. Go a little deeper with it. Oh, but I don't feel very confident. I can't talk to people. I feel so shy. Like, oh my God, that scares me. Oh my God, I can't. You see that mental conversation? Now, when you get out to the outside world, what happens? You find it difficult to make eye contact with people. People talk to you like, you're thinking to yourself, are they talking to me? Oh my God. No, don't talk to me. You may start to stammer a little bit. But all the while, that insecurity that's running in the background, in that mental conversation, it's hiding in plain sight. You feel insignificant. You don't feel pretty. And you think that everybody is looking at that zit in the middle of your forehead. Oh my God, I'm so ugly today. I'm so this. Why does this always happen to me? See, nobody thinks I'm pretty. And in the back of your mind, that inner conversation is how non-pretty you feel. And then what happens? A corresponding external experience. Somebody will either make fun of you or make you feel insignificant. But did they make you feel insignificant, or did you already are like, see, to the types of conversation and how often you're having that conversation, you will begin to see what is ruling your life from the supposed shadows. And then you'll begin to notice that you change the mental conversation that you're having. If you say, look, I used to argue in my head 30 times in an hour. I'd have an argument. Every hour I would check how many times I argued. And I argued for like 30 times. And that's just 1 hour. Now, in a 4 hour span, oh my God, if you saw how many times I argued, if you saw how many times I argued with myself throughout the day, right? This is what you're watching for yourself. And then you realize that all you have are arguments in the outside world. Why is everybody always picking on me? See it? So now that tells you, in order to change from arguing on the outside, you have to change the inner argument. You can't argue inside your mind and have a peaceful conversation on the outside. So you start. What kind of conversation would you like to have? Well, what kinds of conversations do you enjoy having? And you start there. Now remember, did it 30 times the other way. Start every time you catch yourself. You had it 30 times. Oh, goody. How many times throughout the day did you have it? In that hour. It's been 4 hours. Did you argue more? See? So when Neville Goddard says, let it take on the tones of reality in you, how many times are you having that conversation in your mind's eye? Are you having it 60, 90, 100 times? Is it the type of conversation you want to be having? The type of conversation you want to have, and start having it throughout the day. Frequency meaning occurrence. 30 times, 60 times, 90 times, 100 times. That's the frequency. Now, with what kind of intensity? Remember, rhythm compensates. So if the conversation is really stimulating to you, see that level of intensity that you can feel? Well, then that is the level of intensity you will experience the thing on the outside. So the key here to making it make sense is to observe yourself. Why am I telling you this? Remember, and I won't keep you too much longer because I got to get to work, but remember this. Data. I want you to understand why your data is so important. Your data tells people who you are on a neurological level. You know, we can always, you can, you can bathe, right? But you can't wash away your essence. Hello? Listen and comprehend what I am saying to you, and you will grasp something much greater at work. Your data just seems like numbers on a screen. But when you observe the numbers on the screen, they begin to show a pattern. And they show a pattern of a particular person, you. So neurologically, remember, you're always having a mental conversation. The person collecting the data knows the type of conversation and the level of intensity of the conversation you are having because of your external behavior. This is why when you go somewhere, you do something, and you make a particular choice, you think you are making that choice logically. You think you are making that choice logically. You are not making that choice logically. You are making that choice neurologically. So if your data shows your favorite color is blue, and the type of blue that it is, that just, turns your gears, you have the mental conversation that says, oh my God, I just love that color. You're going to go down the street and you're going to see that color everywhere. And you will choose that color. You will buy it in some fashion. You see, we think that data is insignificant because we do not see the depth of how you can use the data. Most people don't know themselves. But if you observe the data that a person generates, a footprint that a person leaves behind, tells you everything about them. Do they limp? That's exactly what your data shows. So that's why it is important for you to know your own self. Why do you choose that type of man? Why do you choose that type of woman? Why do you choose this type of jam? Why do you choose this type of wine? Why do you choose? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We make our choices. This is why Dr. Bruce Lipton says 95% of the things that we do them subconsciously. That is what it means. So, the first place to start in understanding yourself is to observe the mental conversation that you are having. How many times a day do you have that conversation? Because all of your choices and your behavior are going to come out of that conversation that you're having with yourself. And if I watch you long enough, I can tell you about yourself. And because we don't watch ourselves to that level of scrutiny, you see, your data doesn't judge you. It doesn't judge you. It just shows you who you are neurologically. It shows you why you do what you do. So, in order to change your life, you have to watch yourself. This is the art of deliberately manifesting. You don't just write in your journal, I have $1,000,000. I have $1,000,000, and listen to it on repeat and play it on repeat and fall asleep with it on repeat. No, that's madness. That's not an understanding of what you are. You see, because we always hear, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. You understand that now? Neurologically, what are you saying to yourself? Over and over and over. I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough. If that is your inner conversation, and you might not say it like that, I don't have enough, but you might say it like, oh my God, I can't afford that. Man, that's beyond my reach. You got to be a special kind of person to do that. I'm not good enough for that. Oh, if you watch what you say to yourself without judging it, you will begin to see why you make the types of choices that you make, which means you'll begin to see why your life is playing out the way it is. And you will also see how to change it. And that way, you will free yourself from the pattern that you've been playing out, aka your destiny. Observation of yourself. How many times are you having a particular mental conversation? When you're driving, what kind of conversation are you having? Oh, the light's green. Or does somebody have to go, so you'll move? You're deep in your thoughts. You're on the potty. Where's your mind? Man, I gotta hurry. Gotta get back. Gotta get back. And you wonder why you can't go? You wonder why you're constipated? Because the thoughts, the mental conversation. This is how we make it make sense. Right? But because we don't see this, right? Um, Let me see. Sorry, I was reading the chat because I in fan base because I want to make sure that I get the questions, but give me a minute. I'm gonna come and answer them, no fret. um Even if, let me touch on this one, even if English is not your first language, you have your mental conversations in your own language. And then you have to translate, depending on where you live, you have to translate that inner conversation that you're having into the language that you're learning. So it doesn't matter what your culture is, it doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter any of those things. The only thing that matters is what type of conversation are you having in your head? Because that is what determines the trajectory of your life. You hear your mother in the back of your head, you hear your father in the back of your head. What are you hearing in the back of your head all the time? That inner conversation. Catch it. And all you should be concerned with there is recognizing the type of conversation, how many times you have the conversation, and the level of intensity of the feeling associated with that conversation. Those are the three things. I'm going to say it to you again. When you are observing yourself to see how your life is playing out, recognize how many times you have the conversation, the type of conversation, and the feeling associated with the conversation. When you distinguish those three things, your life will make much more sense to you. So, if you see it, when you see it, how do you change? You change from the root. Neurologically, you change. You start a whole new mental conversation. How many times do you have that conversation? And what is the feeling associated with that conversation? That's how you free yourself. Neville Goddard, he waxes poetic. He says, identify what you want to become in the world, and then begin to experience in imagination what you would be doing in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be, and immerse yourself in the feeling. That is how he put it to you, which is very beautiful and mystical. But for some of us, we don't get mystical. We brush mystical off and call it, well, that seems so new age. No, let me put it to you in a term that you can grasp. You're always having a conversation in your mind's eye. Always. All day, every day. What is that conversation? How many times are you having that conversation? And how does it make you feel when you're having that conversation? Recognize those three things, and you will see why you do what you do, and you will see how to change it so that you change the outcome of your life. That is how we make it make sense. So if you say, well, Angela, I want a new job, where's the bearing on that? What is the conversation you're having in your head? Go there. Because you know the feeling. Every time you're worried about a job, you know the feeling. That part's already figured out for you. You know the feeling. Is it a feeling of desperation, agitation? What? You see the feeling associated with job? Okay, then. Now, why? Where's that feeling? What's that telling you? You're not good enough for that job? You don't have the qualifications for that job? How do you think you're going to get the job when you're not the one saying to yourself, I got this in the bag? Nah, your predominant conversation about jobs is, I'm not good enough. So change the conversation. What are you good at? That's the conversation to have. You know what? I'm good at this. I'm good at this. I'm good at this. I'm really good at. Listen, I saw this comedian one time, and she was talking about hookers and putting together their resume. She told them that they're good at accounting because you got to get paid up front. You great at accounts receivable. You got to get paid up front. You take your money up front. I was like, oh Lord, but she's right. She said, you know how to market. You know what to put on. You know how to dress for the occasion. You're organized. You're there the same time every day. See, we take it as a joke. We think it is funny, but she had a very keen sense of observation to show people what they really were about. So when you want the new job, Look at your present skills, not what your job said you didn't have. What are you good at? And now that is where the inner conversation starts to be new. Start that new conversation about recognizing your skills that you know that you have. Perhaps people don't see them, but you do. So start having that conversation. How many times do you have in that conversation? And it'll start where you will, when you start looking through whatever search engine you're going to use to job hunt, you'll now begin to see that the thing you're looking for just shows up all the time. And you're like, oh, yes, you know what? I will apply for that because that's what I'm good at. And you start, now you're more focused, more targeted. Cause and effect. You changed from, I'm not good like that, or I don't know how to do that. You changed from that to, oh, wait, look, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. And that is what you allowed to become your focus day in and day out. How many times did you think about it? How did you feel it? And was that the predominant theme? Those three things. What are you thinking about? How frequently throughout the day? And how does it make you feel? It is the problem, yet it is the solution. It's how we get ourselves in and out of situations. And I tell you, I stand 10 toes down in it. You start there with those three things, and you'll begin to understand now why your data is worth so much money. Yes, you'll begin to see why your data is so valuable. Because if you know a person, not only can you predict their behavior, but you can do what now? Manipulate the behavior. So wouldn't it be nice for you to hold your own power in your own hands? Anywho, I have prattled on enough for 47 minutes. God, YouTube, thanks for keeping track of how long I can yak. Gotta make a sister feel away. Anywho, who's here? Sugar Visions. Well, good morning, Michael. I see you, the better man. You're kicking it with us here in these YouTube streets. Ow. Twitter, oh. OG, I see you less ago. I see you too here in these Twitter streets. Hello. Fan base, Miss McQueen, Flo Smiles, Ray, Michael. Miss Deborah. I see you, darling. So, as you go through this day, simply observe yourself. How many times throughout the day are you having a particular thought? What is that thought? And what is the feeling accompanying that thought? And you will see why your life is the way it is. But when you see why your life is the way it is, you have also shown yourself how to change. Isn't he just so on point? Oh, God, he's amazing. I love my Roo. Okay, little bit, I'm coming to feed you, baby. I'm coming to feed you. I love you. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Not because I think today is Tuesday. It's not Tuesday, it's Monday today. But tomorrow is Canada's Day. Woohoo! It's like your 4th of July if you're in the States, or your country's Independence Day. It's ours. And me and my boy and our chickens, we're going to go and we're going to hang out and chill out and catch some festivities. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. I don't know where we're going. Who knows? But we're going to be in that backyard. And we're just going to hang out. We're going to sleep in and we're going to hang out. You know, ice cream. We're going to do something fun, you know? So that's why you won't see me tomorrow. Remember that. But I will see you Wednesday. Right here, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. No, not TikTok, Angela. Twitter, fan base. I will see you all Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okie dokie. My, I do love you. Let me see. I'm going in the chat here. Let me see. I know, right? Flo Smiles, it really has. It really, really has. His English has really improved beautifully because he hangs out, right? In spaces where he has to speak with it. So he just practices. So of course. Um uh oh, this is the outcome of practice is you get better. Just keep practicing. Um Flo Smiles, you used to do the funky chicken to get popsicle truck money. You know what? I'm done. I'm done. That's too funny. Thinking in the second language is the biggest final challenge for my spoken English. You see, that's the thing because it tells you you're thinking, and the reason why you think in your second language is the hardest challenge is just because you don't have that neurological pathway set down. You have the other one set down in your original language. So that's why it seems hard, but over time, the more you practice, the easier it becomes for you to start thinking in the second language. That's why I tell you every day it is beautiful. Thank you, Miss Deborah. Oh, we will enjoy it. Like I said, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to enjoy ourselves tomorrow. Because I know for you guys, when is the 4th? Is that Thursday? No, Friday? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think it's Friday. Or is it you know what? English is my strong suit. Numbers, well, I'm coming along with them. Anyway, um enjoy your day. And remember, observe yourself without judgment. Observe yourself. Oh my God. I didn't tell you guys. But this guy, I was at work on Thursday. He came through my till and he left. Always so pleasant, you know? I helped a couple more people and then he came back. And he says, listen, I got to tell you this because I'm leaving and I'm a little bit shy, but I really want to tell you. He says, I've traveled the world and I've gone to 49 countries. And you are the most kind person I've ever met. He said, every time I come in here, I leave, I feel better. He said, my desire for you is that you have a most beautiful life. Now, I am standing here and my mouth is hanging open because I'm like, what in the, how am I supposed to respond to this one? I was like, I don't know how to respond. So your girl responds in the only way she can. I said, oh my God, that is so sweet. Thank you so very much. I said, but here's something for you. I said to him, as within, so without. Because you want me to have a good life, it has to pass through you first. You also will have a good life. That's what, because that was the only thing I knew. That's the one thing my brain latched onto is the principle of correspondence. And he said to me, I've never heard that before. And I told him that's the principle of correspondence, as within, so without. As you want for another, you get for yourself. And he said, I am so humbled, he said to me, to be in your presence, to know you. And I was like, wow. Like totally, listen, and your girl is rarely ever speechless. as you well know. Hello. YouTube is telling me you've not been speechless for 55 minutes. And I was like, ah, shoot. But there I was, absolutely speechless. Because I just don't have the words other than what I told him. And so, why is that important? Scripture tells us, do not grow weary in doing good. Because you don't know. You don't know. So just remain faithful to what you remain faithful to. And I remain faithful to living the principles. Do I get it right every day? Ah, girl, we are a work in progress. But that's the point, isn't it? So don't grow weary in doing good. You have no idea. And it reminded me again, the story of the 10 lepers, only one came back. You and I have no idea who we impact in a day unless they tell us. So don't think that you don't make a difference in someone's life or that someone's not making a difference in your life. My son did that once. And you got to remember, he's real shy sometimes. Doesn't like talking to people. But we had gone to this little patisserie to buy these French pastries, right? And the mother was there and her son, because they do the business together. The mother packages up the stuff so beautifully. And he says, Mom, wait. After I paid and we were walking away, he ran back, and I don't know what he said to them because I wasn't that close. All I heard the mother and son say were, oh my goodness, thank you so very much. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. He went all the way back to tell them, and that is out of character for him. He went all the way back to tell them that he enjoyed their customer service. He enjoyed the look of their product. That's what he did. I don't know how he said it, but I just know that's what he did. You see, sometimes when we are inspired to act in such a fashion, just do it, because you don't know the impact you will be having. You have no idea. So just remain faithful, right? Anywho, I love you, and I gotta go. I gotta feed my chickens. I gotta get ready, pack my lunch. Oh my goodness. I love you. I'll see you Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to each and every one of you. Peace out.